Dear viewer, thank you so much for always being here. My name is Isaac Wabomba, and in today's topic, we want to talk about why the black people fear each other, especially in the foreign land. I request you that you sit back and watch as I cover all this for you. So, as always, we have lived on this planet. We always know the prophet, or rather, a prophet is not welcomed at their own place. So, most of us tend to believe when we meet each other outside our country, we have that joy of meeting your fellow African. Yeah, you understand that feeling, but in this case, it's different.
And this is why they hate blacks in America so much, the white power structure. We're the only non-white people in the country who cannot be sent home. Right. You cannot be deported. Slavery destroyed your cultural, psychological, and intellectual connection to your ancestral homeland. If the Ghanaian get on your nerve, he go back to Ghana. If the Puerto Rican gets on your nerves, he go back to Puerto Rico. If the Afro-Cuban gets on your nerves, he or she go back to Cuba. If the Chinese get on your nerves, send them back to China. If the East Indian gets on your nerves, send them back to India. If the Arab gets on your nerve, send them back to one of the Middle Eastern states. But when American Africans get on your nerves, where do you deport us to?
So there are a number of factors that has contributed to this kind of thing. Because once you're African, I expect you appreciate your fellow African, especially in those the foreign state. Let me give an example of the US, and you just hear this local language music playing on the street by a certain individual. In one way or the other, we are supposed to appreciate. You're trying to appreciate your fellow African, but in that video, as you have seen there, the African people, like, they do not want to associate themselves with their fellow African. So I was just thinking by myself, and I was trying to imagine what could be the contributing factor to this. And I found that number one, the most contributing factor is
most American Africans are so brainwashed they think they're American. So you cannot deport them because this is what they identify with most. So in other words, the white man created his own problem, which makes it almost impossible to deport us. So the only way to get rid of us is a systemic system of racial genocide, and that's what they're using.
When we go to these foreign states, we tend, or rather we are brainwashed in a way, in a manner that we think that we, in one or the other, we have become part of that particular state. If it's America, we think that we have automatically become American. Even if you got your citizenship through registration, it still remains you're African. So I don't think it's the right thing to mistreat your fellow African. No. So number one, this brainwash of thinking that we have automatically become Americans. And now you want to treat your fellow African the way you want. It's not something good at all. Yeah,
Most American Africans are so brainwashed they think they're American. So you cannot deport them because this is what they identify with most. So in other words, the white man created his own problem, which makes it almost impossible to deport us. So the only way to get rid of us is a systemic system of racial genocide, and that's what they're using.
The cultural differences, So once we are in Kenya here, in Kenya we have several tribes. I think we have 42 tribes. So when we get to the foreign state, we tend to be like, no, this is a Luya, this is a Kalenjin. So those people, and you're not that much because of political issues, because just because we are from different communities, you don't want to associate with your fellow African, your fellow black people. Really?
Do you want us to call for our 400,000 black men and women that are serving in the armed forces of America to come out and come home? For our fight is in America with the evil forces of racism.
Another thing that is contributing to African fearing their own in the foreign land, we think that our fellow African are borrowers. Once you see your fellow black person, you're like, you think they want to borrow money, I don't know. Yeah, you understand? One thing we need to understand, all of us have come from Africa, as much as it's considered to be a black continent. So when you get there, you need to be considerate. Consider your fellow man, consider your friend. As much as we may think that they may be borrowers, they might be beggars. Even if they're begging, they will not beg you forever. Just try to help one another, and that's all. If you have $20, whatever you have, it doesn't mean that you need to have so much. Yeah? At some point, try to imagine you are that person who may, in one or the other, you're thinking he might be the beggar. Try to put, or rather, try to be in that shoe and imagine.
What we are saying to you now is that injustice brings its response. And this is why Thomas Jefferson said, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever. Why are you trembling? God has already entered into the fight. The plagues are already here, and they will get worse. And as you plan to kill our people, watch what God does.
I remember the case of Floyd when he was arrested by the police, the white police. And while he was lying on the ground, this police was like he had put his knees on his neck, and the guy was crying, saying, "I can't breathe." This white police couldn't consider the life of this black, and at the end of the day, this black guy, this Floyd, died. Right? That is when most of the black people came online saying, "Whoa, we need to be, we need to be treated like human beings. Oh, we are not animals. Oh, stop racism, stop all those kind of things." So right now we do not have that case, or maybe even if it's there, perhaps it has not yet escalated to a level whereby all of the global or the world can notice it. So before it reaches to such a point, why can't we try our best to minimize this? Because we have power, we have authority to do this. The request from our end, or rather from my end, would be, we need to be considerate. As much as we may see your fellow black person as a threat to you, even if you're still a black, but your fellow black is a threat to you, try to be considerate. That's it. Another thing that is trying to make African people to fear each other, especially in this black states, we tend to believe that the black people are meant to be, or rather most of the black people associate themselves with crime. Not everybody is a thug. Sometimes we do not need to judge a book by its cover. We do not need to judge a book by its cover. You might see this person is black, but deep down they're very good people. As much as you may think because of their skin, maybe they may steal from you. You install very big CCTVs and those all kind of things. Imagine those are the kind of things that were happening between those are the things that are happening between the whites and the black. But at the same time, the blacks have decided to do the same. So where do we go? Let us stop racism, and we will make our planet, the earth, the best place ever to stay. And shockingly, this thing is already even in church. I want us to watch this clip.
Oh,
of Holies place, where when I think I'm so heartbroken, I can run to. This is the place where I can run to anytime when I'm down. This is a place when I am in tears. I need to run there and get comfort. But now, as we speak, racism is also in church. Which God are we serving? What kind of God are we serving? If already our hearts are very dark, which kind of heaven do we want to go when our hearts are looking the way they are? Just because, as you can watch that clip, the white priest does not want, he has hugged all along all the white priest. When he gets to the black priest, he only shakes the hands, but within seconds, and he passes by and continues to hug. What does that show? If this thing is even existing in churches, so someone might think of, why do we even need to go to church? That's a question I'm posting to you as well. If the same continues even in the house of God, so some other, I don't know, let me not go there, but we need to stop racism. Let's once again watch this clip. Just like a summary I have given, but there's a lot to cover on this. But let me assure you, this is just part one of the discussion. I'll come with the second part of it. Continue subscribing and ensure that you share this out. And we must all stop racism and make the earth the best place ever to stay.